Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Herskowitz, Vice President for Microsoft Teams. It is an honor to be here, and I hope you're enjoying the Modern Work Conference. As organizations make the shift from remote to hybrid work, one thing is clear. The workplace today is dramatically different than it was 2 years ago. Understanding and keeping pace with the new expectations is a challenge facing every leader and will be key to making hybrid work work. And while there are varying definitions of hybrid, at Microsoft, we define it as flexibility in when, where, and how we work. Embracing hybrid work will be an incredible shift for every organization and will require a data-driven approach. To understand how hybrid work has changed over the last 2 years and to identify opportunities and challenges ahead, in March, we released the 2022 Work Trend Index. The findings in the second annual report are based on 4 key sources. First, a study of over 30,000 people in 31 countries. Analysis of productivity patterns in Microsoft 365 products like Teams and Outlook, labor trends in LinkedIn, and insight from researchers who have studied work for decades. Last year, our research predicted 2 trends that we've seen play out: the hybrid paradox, the fact that people simultaneously crave flexibility and in-person time with their team, and the Great Reshuffle. Our research this year shows these trends have evolved, spurring the next era of the Great Expectations. Both employees and employers have big expectations about the year ahead, and our data shows that they're not always aligned. And it's clear in the data, we're just not the same people who went home to work in 2020. A few months of remote work could have been a blip, but 2 years of experience can't be erased. How we define the role of work in our lives has fundamentally changed. Flexibility is now a non-negotiable that companies cannot afford to ignore. Here are some of the compelling findings from the studies. First, employees have a new worth it equation: what they want from work and what they're willing to give in return. 53% of people are more likely to prioritize health and well-being over work than before the pandemic, and 47% are more likely to prioritize family and personal life. And these aren't empty words. 18% of respondents quit their jobs last year. Looking ahead, over 50% of Gen Z and millennials are likely to consider a new job in the next year. It's clear that the Great Reshuffle is far from over. The best leaders will create a culture that embraces flexibility and prioritizes employee well-being. Next, we know that employees are hungry for in-person work to build connections and to collaborate with their team members. Yet, 38% of hybrid employees say their biggest challenge is knowing when and why to come into the office. And only 28% of companies have established team agreements to define the new work norms. Leaders need to reimagine the office experience and be intentional about in-person time. They need to adopt new cultural norms, technology, and update space to give everyone a seat at the table. Now, one example of helpful technology is hybrid RSVP in Outlook. Now, it's easy for employees to communicate if they're going to participate in a meeting in the office or virtually. This helps the meeting organizer plan for a meeting based on where people will be participating from. It also helps employees know that if they go into the office, who else will actually be in person as well. The next insight from the study was that hybrid work will be a reality. Over 50% of employees who are currently working in hybrid say they are considering going fully remote. But 43% of remote employees say they don't feel included in meetings. In-person experiences need to be designed for the people who are not in the room. Today, only 8% of the 90 million conference rooms around the world are video enabled. Good news, over 50% of leaders say their company is redesigning spaces to make them more hybrid friendly. Now, in this view, you see front row in Microsoft Teams. Teams rooms are designed to be inclusive of everyone in a meeting, not just those in the conference room. As you can see, remote attendees are life-size and at eye level. You see all participants' names and reactions. For example, if someone wants to speak, they can raise their hand. You can also see the meeting chat, the other conversation often taking place in a meeting. To ensure employees thrive in hybrid work, physical spaces need to ensure that remote attendees feel included and are able to contribute and collaborate. Now, finally, based on productivity trends and Microsoft 365 products, meetings are on the rise, frequently spilling over past the traditional 9-to-5 workday. Teams usage, for example, is up over 250% since March of 2020. It's a rising tide that is just not sustainable. Thankfully, we're seeing new productivity patterns emerging. Meeting habits are changing. They are shorter and more ad hoc, starting later on Monday mornings and wrapping up earlier on Fridays. People are also scheduling more time off, a 10% increase in out-of-office blocks in their calendars. And asynchronous work is on the rise too. We've seen over 30% growth in chats. The data shows that employees are doing what they can to make flexible work their own, but making it sustainable long-term is required to ensure that employees are not always on. Now, technology can be a powerful enabler for these new patterns of work, helping us set boundaries and end this meetings overload. Microsoft Teams is designed to support synchronous and asynchronous work. For example, with meeting recordings, transcripts, chat history, it's easy just to catch up on meetings that you don't attend. And with channels and chat and Teams, more often you just don't need a meeting. I can easily connect with a colleague or my team to solve a problem through a chat or a quick discussion. Now, to close this out, I'll leave you with this. We aren't the same people who went home to work 2 years ago. There's no erasing the experience, and it's just reality that we've reset our expectations. Employees have a new worth it equation, and flexibility is here to stay. To make hybrid work work, leaders need to empower managers to be cultural keepers, rethink the role of the office, and create new experiences for sustainable, flexible work. It will require intentionality and a cultural first approach that is supported by the right tools and technology. Organizations that embrace this opportunity will come out ahead.